much support the idea that the IGF mandate should be extended. So, you know, we like the idea of trying to find ways for IGF-USA to perhaps contribute to that goal. So, you know, recognizing that IGFs are not supposed to be about an elaborate negotiation of an outcome document or anything like that, but rather forums for exchanging best practices in many cases. Was just wondering whether this IGF-USA could be an opportunity for a stock taking of how previous IGF-USAs have done in this regard, and maybe, you know, a discussion of the top 3 best practices that have been arrived at, and how, you know, that could be a contribution to IGF later on in Brazil. And excuse me, Marilyn is looking at me and wanting me to look at something.
Perfect.
So, okay, yeah. So IGF 2014 Best Practice Forum outcome documents, there were 6. Maybe we can pick 3 or 4 to discuss and to for a contribution for IGF Brazil. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. So I'm going to give this to you. Mike and I, as MAG members, and Cheryl and Aubrey Doria and a few others, we're called on to propose intersessional work by the national and regional IGFs. And I'll post the document from the MAG list just because it'll be easier. If I can, David, I'll just post that. Sure. If we could look at this list of best practice forums and figure out which ones. I think that's the 6 we did in 2014. There's a couple of others that have been added to it. If we could contribute to this, and it suits our, you know, maybe David, John, we could put this out in our survey as well. One of the things that's going on at the CSTD, the Commission for Science and Technology for Development, is this mapping exercise that identifies what we would call success stories. And there's 660 examples. So if we picked 2 or 3 areas of best practices, and then we got contributions, not just domestically, but contributions globally as well. And I'm looking at you because, you know, universal acceptance, all of these issues could really, that could be our contribution into the IGF. And it would also enable us possibly to speak at the IGF on the best practice examples. Stephanie, I'm handing this.
The first thing I had scrolled down when we were talking about the possibility of titles was something along the lines of like looking back and moving forward, because I think the IGF itself is at a crossroads, and for each of the topics on the master IGF list, there's a conversation to be had about where we stand, where we progress, what role the IGF has had in making progress on it, and the extent to which people regard it as still having a role in continuing to drive issues forward, which I think for every single one of these issues, there's a lot of people in this room that think the IGF has a very important role to play.
Here you go. I'll check, see if there's any comments on that.
Any comments from our remote participants? You guys still with us? Glenn? Okay, Glenn?
No, he says no.
No. Okay. Moving along.
I like the idea of UA.
So maybe we can start talking next steps. Well, the next steps would be to continue having. I think if nobody else has anything to say, we can conclude this meeting right on time. Only 4 minutes late. Yes?
Would you read out the, would you mind reading out the 6, or Carl could, reading out the 6 examples, just so people can start thinking about it?
Sure. The 6 sub-themes of the global IGF, and I'll post this on our website, is cybersecurity and trust, which coincidentally the DC chapter is working on kind of 2 panels on and a video. So maybe that can be folded into the IGF-USA's treatment of the subject. The
David,
internet.
if I may, I put that on
Yes, Susan, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Susan, your camera is pointing at your mouse and fingers. You have a great mouse and fingers, but
I'm not going to put my camera on me right now. Okay.
Susan, did you have something to say because somebody else wants to say something?
Yeah, please. I was just saying name the date for that event, May 12th.
Yeah, pardon me. Our panel with George Washington University on surveillance and the future of the internet will be on May 12th. Moving right along. Chip, you had your hand up?
Yes, I was wondering if you could, before we close, just summarize the agreements that were made at this meeting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good, Chip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta do
The action items.
whatever we agreed on at this meeting. I'm still trying to figure it out, but
Yeah, can we post those online by next Tuesday? Because the thing we agreed on is to have a tentative date, as far as the best I can tell, and yeah. We agreed on a tentative date of June 8th.
No, week of May 8th.
Oh, Mike, back me up.
I made the motion that we'll explore June 8th.
Yes.
That doesn't work. We'll look at their.
So we've made a motion to explore having it one day during the week of June 8th, not for 2 weeks, and with the first choice being June 8th itself. Okay. The second thing, we've made specific changes to the names of the various committees, but not their functions. Those will be updated and posted online. We've talked about populating those committees as soon as possible. We've talked about updating and predicating the timeline upon those committees and predicating tasks on the timeline upon those committees and integrating that into the sub-themes of the IGF Global in Brazil. We've talked about
Considering pre-events?
yeah, we've considered pre-events, and that's going to be kind of part of that, part of that predication, I guess. So I think the best thing to do is to maybe either have an online message board or an online conversation where we can kick around ideas.
And where people can volunteer. People can volunteer.
Yeah,
We need to get people volunteering to serve. Want to be on the website?
this is an ongoing argument we've had. Listserv versus group conversations. ISOC and ISOC community. Yeah. ISOC and ISOC communities have very deftly used Skype chats for this type of thing.
Be really careful about transposing ISOC communities into this community. Right? You've got to have a website.
We have a website. The point is, what works for hosting a conversation on one place is a good thing to look to when you're looking to host a conversation in another place. No, we're not transposing it. I'm saying we could set up such a thing for us.
Okay, we look forward to
Yeah.
seeing how that.
Yeah.
The only thing we haven't done is set another meeting date.
Yeah, that'll.
Always the definition of a good meeting in Washington.
Holy.
It's true.
And this is the California guy.
Yeah, you always have to have another meeting.
Okay, next meeting. I think we should have it in 1 month from now.
That's too far away, my friend.
How about March? But you please don't have it during the week of March 3rd to the 4th, when many of us will be at UNESCO. Can we do it March the 8th, the week of March the 8th? Or not? Sorry, I can't leave my calendar. Week of the 9th?
Yes.
I think we'd be better to do it sooner than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't, I mean.
Yeah, but not, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the 20s. Not in the concept.
Wait, they can be appointed.
we hear you. Yes.
Sorry. Yes. USCIB and the OECD are doing a very important conference on March 10th. So you all are invited to attend, and I just ask that you sort of reserve that time for that conference or be cognizant that people will be involved in that conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, it's like.
Yes?
No, would you just ask her if that's in Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
Yes. Washington, D.C.
Oh, great. And so if you could send out the details to us, we would.
Yeah. Okay.
If I may. Just going back to Chip's point, I think there were some political imperatives that were mentioned early on in the call. And I think one of the things I think that we've all agreed to as well, too, that we want to try to structure this IGF and some of the activities to try to meet those. That should be captured again in the minutes as well. And if they're not there, I mean, it's a very, key issues on the table that we're trying to address. And I think the other one that came up earlier in the call as well, too, is trying to find host organizations in other cities that could serve kind of as this group is serving for Washington, D.C. to organize satellite events. And that momentum, I think, going forward could be particularly helpful. And I think also what was mentioned is that to really feed into the global IGFs. And so I think one thing that I know Marilyn and Mike and others that are on the IGF will put probably that placeholder, but whether it's the IGF reporting back or other sessions, we may want to think about, there's still a set of time, is if the IGF-USA is interested in putting together a session or bringing some of the speakers that are participating at the IGF-USA to be able to get to Brazil, I think that'd be great. And to, I think, Marilyn and Dimitri's point as well, too, trying to move forward to try to find ways to get youth, particularly students that are very keen in this, and trying to get them to Brazil, again, because of donors and because of sponsors, that's going to require, so putting that on an item that we kind of agree on is key going forward. Mike?
Making a motion on our next meeting date. Is Monday, March 9th feasible? I mean, Marilyn will be back. The people at the UNESCO meeting will be back. Later in that week, things get very busy for a lot of people. So I think we need to do something. That's 2.5 weeks from now. That'll be a nice driving function for us. Monday, March 9th.
Okay, can you check with Barbara? What do you get?
Jolly mentioned in the chat that March 9th is the Moralo event.
No, but the call, so he just wants you to have it earlier than 3 to, so that it won't be a 3 to 4. Sure.
Yeah, you can do it in the morning for that matter.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what Jolly was talking
about. Okay. Parisian people will be waking up anyway.
That's me anyway. I have to chair that meeting, so.
So I think we're done.
Okay. If nothing has anything else, let's just, can you hold this a second?
Yeah.
I'd like to just review with the room the list of action items that need to be done before March 9th so that we can send them out and we can all be on the same page. I know we've said it twice. We have setting up the web committee, getting the website straight. We have finalizing the date or near finalizing the date and location. What needs to be done in terms of feeder events and incorporating the IGF global themes into are there specific action items?
Those are two different events, two different things. We need to get people in this room and on the phone recruiting people in other cities, finding good partners for this.
Need to recruit.
And these feeder events should be even less complicated than the ISOC DC events that we do.
Yeah.
One panel, one phone call.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Judith Hellesine. For the feed events, we may want to reach out. There's a whole bunch of chapters. There's the ISOC at San Francisco Bay who also had expressed an interest, and then there were some other groups who had expressed an interest for the San Francisco, and so we should reach out to them and have them help work on the feeder event.
And ISOC New York, of course.
And Denver.
Yes. Marilyn.
Yeah.
Could I let's assume that we're brainstorming in no particular priority, because I think we also need to prioritize the theme and the main topics before we do recruitment of feeder events, right? And then the feeder events can focus on the topics, but add other input that's indigenous, the long word, special to them. But we gotta, if we're gonna do a survey, then we need to have structure of the survey.
I think the survey is a meeting or two down the road.
Oh, okay, but
We're not ready for the survey.
well, then we shouldn't be recruiting feeder events until we have something to ask people to do. Well, Mike,
If we have really strong groups that are ready to do something and they have 3 different topics they can do, they should throw those ideas forward. I mean, it's bottom up here, right? We have ideas coming forward.
well, it is bottom up with some structure, all right? So if the structure is brainstorm your ideas and we're going to change the structure and nature of the IGF-USA, I'm not saying one way or the other, but
I'm saying these groups come forward with ideas. We don't tell them, okay, organize something.
Why don't we do this?
We just wait. We just get them excited and start throwing ideas up the chain.
Respond to it's feeder, not theater.
Feeder is different from brainstorming initially. That's all I'm trying to figure out. Is what
Feeder, Robin, not theater, feeder.
Excuse me, this is Ginger. I think that it's probably important for us to start generating interest and excitement in venues, at least for the feeder events, without waiting until knowing what the topics are, because I think it's going to take longer than that to get organized. Thank you.
Yes.
Exactly the point.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't give them carte blanche to just do whatever they want. But we say, give us some ideas.
So last year,
Think about whether you're willing in the first place.
Exactly.
last year, the first or second open meeting, steering committee meeting last year, we called out for suggestions of topics to cover and then conducted a survey. Why don't we do that at the March 9th meeting?
Good.
Someone said, oh, this is Judith. Barbara, could you, we got 2 conflicting notions on your meeting. Is it March 9th or is it March 10th?
Barbara's meeting is March 10th.
Because someone else said it was 9th.
No. Barbara's meeting is the 10th.
Okay, but then someone said.
The USCID, OECD meeting.
All right.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, we can end less than 20 minutes late.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for dialing in, for logging in, for coming. Thanks once again to Margaret for hosting, and thanks to Paul for his technical awesomeness.
If anybody has anything they want to contribute, where do they send it to? Or do they contact?
You can email me or chapter@isoc-dc.org. Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, everybody. There's contact information on the website.
Have a good weekend, all.
Everybody have a great weekend. Try not to.
Take care.